Most of us would like to think that we know all of our road signs and that we are safe drivers when we're driving around outside. Most of us would also like to think that everyone else knows all of their road signs so that they are safe when they are driving around outside. But surveys undertaken by whatcar.com suggest that only around half of people are familiar with certain road signs, suggesting that they are somewhat unusual. So these are what I'm talking about today, but if you are new to my channel, I'm a barrister who helps you understand law. I take questions, I make videos out of your questions, and if I don't get around to them on this channel, I answer them very often on Black Belt Secrets, linked below, and you can also hit me up on Instagram. So starting off with speed signs, I very often see the comments that these are limits, not targets. And for the most part, that's true, because if you're in a particular situation, you should be driving safely, and that is not necessarily getting right up to the speed limit straight away. Of course, you need to be aware of your surroundings and make sure that you are safe to get up to that speed limit before doing so. However, the whatcar.com survey showed that 70% of those that answered did not know what this sign means here. This is a minimum speed limit, meaning that you should undertake that minimum speed if at all possible. And this sign here is the end of the minimum speed requirement. You will often see these in tunnels. Now, whilst some of you might be thinking that this sign was obvious, 70% of those respondents in the survey got this one wrong. But contrary to popular belief, there is no minimum speed set for the motorways and other roads like that unless you see one of these signs here. However, if you are on the motorway and there's no reason for you to be driving very slowly and you are causing other traffic to have to move around you and causing disruption to that traffic, you may well be stopped by the police and potentially even prosecuted for careless or inconsiderate driving of other road users for driving at a slow speed. Following on from my previous video, which I will link in the description below, when you see a road that is in brackets, such as this one here, it means that the other road is leading towards this road and that this road is not the first road you will come to. Just over half in the survey understood this sign, which means no waiting, and the slightly harsher version, this sign means no stopping at all. Again, just over half of those that responded understood this sign, which means an unmanned level crossing without a barrier. Obviously, that's extremely dangerous. There's no personnel there, there is no barrier there, so it should be approached with extreme caution because it would be highly dangerous. Again, with just about half of the respondents getting this sign correct, some people believe this means no cyclists, because presumably it's in a round circle and circles mean an order of some kind. However, a blue circle is an order of a mandatory nature. So this means cyclists only on this route. Equally, this sign here, it is in a round circle, so it is a mandatory, as in these things only. This means cycles and pedestrians only, but it has split the lane into two. So one part of it is for cycles and one part is for pedestrians. It does not mean that there are no cyclists and no pedestrians allowed down this route. Again, as obvious as this sign might seem to many people, only half of the respondents got this one correct. This obviously means you must go left, and it's important because it will often indicate a one-way street. Not always, but sometimes it will indicate that you're going the wrong way down a one-way street. But wherever you see this sign at a junction, of course, you must go left only. Back to cyclists, this sign was identified incorrectly by 57% of those that answered the survey. There must have been lots of different ideas for what this sign means, but this is in fact just a recommended route for cyclists, usually indicating the safer route. For example, if there are main busy roads and there's an alternative route for cyclists to go down, this would recommend that route. Now, you may be detecting a pattern here where only roughly half of the respondents get these signs correct, which might be a little bit worrying. But this next one, even more so. This sign should be familiar to every driver on the road. Obviously, it means no entry at this point and is usually accompanied by a twin pair of signs, one either side of the road, to make it absolutely clear that you cannot enter this road. However, again, in the survey that I refer to, 62% of the respondents in this survey got this one wrong. A full 72% of the respondents could also not identify this sign correctly. However, the explanation is actually quite simple. It just indicates a lane that buses, taxis, and cycles can use in the same direction. So it is a with flow bus lane which taxis and cycles may use. This is not to be confused with a contraflow sign, which will indicate a different direction of traffic. So you need to look out for that, otherwise you'll be traveling in a different direction to the bus. On to some different signs now that are not covered by this survey. Any idea what this sign means here? Obviously, it is a blank triangle with a number of yards underneath it. Hopefully it's clear that the triangle is a warning and the bit underneath is telling you what it's warning you about. It's telling you that there is a stop sign 100 yards up the road and you must come to a full stop when you reach that stop sign. Equally, this one is indicating a give way, so when you reach that point, you must give way. But what if you come across a sign like this one, which has absolutely nothing in it? But is obviously a red circle, so it is a prohibitory order of some kind, something that you must not do. But there's nothing in the circle. This one actually means no vehicles are allowed at all. Only when something is put inside the circle does it specify what it is, such as this one for no horse-drawn carriages. Or the more commonly found version, such as this one, which means no motor vehicles. Many people that see this sign might be forgiven for thinking that it's something to do with the motor vehicle brand of Ford, but obviously that's not the case. A ford is a very low point in a river where vehicles will be able to cross that river because it's shallow enough. So this is a warning that there is a ford part of the river that vehicles may cross. And finally, if it remains a mystery to you as to why this sign is in an octagon shape, it is in fact the only sign in an octagon shape for a very specific reason. The reason this is in this particular shape is because it is absolutely important that vehicles come to a complete stop at this sign. And there's usually a very important reason. It might be that it's a particularly dangerous road that has lots of accidents if people do pull out and haven't come to a complete stop, or there may be lots of other reasons. Either way, you need to come to a complete stop. But why is it in an octagon shape? Well, this is because if for any reason this sign becomes obscured or obstructed, you can still see the shape of the sign. For example, if it's covered in snow and you can't read what it says on the sign, if it were round, then the sign could say anything. If it were a triangular shape, it could say virtually anything. But this is the one sign when vehicles must come to a complete stop. So even if you cannot read what's on the sign, the octangular shape of the sign allows you to recognize what that sign means. Many of you may have also seen these signs dotted on various road signs, but without necessarily knowing exactly what they mean. So to clear up the confusion, they are typically used as emergency diversions or more permanent diversions. So you will see these signs indicating an alternative route or a route to follow, for example, if a road is closed or simply diverted for any other kind of reason. And you will see these kind of signs indicating it on the main road signs to follow this route for a particular road that you need to follow. And finally, as a bonus for the end of the video, many people are confused with mini roundabouts, which are indicated by this sign here. The reason they're indicated by this sign is because they are obviously quite small, they are quite low down. The mystery that I'm going to clear up is as to whether or not you are allowed to drive over this mini roundabout. Many people have told me that you're not allowed to drive over it even though it's low and you must drive around it. Now, of course, in most situations, you should drive around it if possible. But if there is not enough room, you can drive over the mini roundabout, or if you're driving a large vehicle, then you may need to drive over the mini roundabout. This is the reason that they are low, because larger vehicles simply would not be able to turn if they were not allowed to drive over it. But obviously, if the roads are too small for a normal sized roundabout, and it's not a T-junction of any kind, then it needs to be low so that large vehicles can drive over it. Equally, if there's not enough room for your vehicle, then you can also drive over the middle of it. But for a much fuller explanation of this, see the link to the video I've put in the description to Advanced Driving School here on YouTube, which I think is an excellent video explaining how this works. And just to say that none of the links or the comments or the websites in this video are sponsored in any way whatsoever. I'm just referencing them because I think they are a good reference to explain my video here. So let me know in the comments any of those signs that you did not know about until you watched this video. And please be honest, there's no shame in saying that you didn't know, but hopefully you do now know and that this video was useful. Don't forget to like this video if you found it useful, and remember, stay humble and subscribe.